I look at my mean hands, my red face, and I wonder about that man who went so wrong.
In the world of Hollywood, where stories often blur between truth and legend, there are few names that shine as brightly as Dean Martin's. For generations, he has been the epitome of effortless charm, a star whose coolness defined an era. But behind the dazzling smile and velvet voice, there's a mystery. A side of Dean Martin that only a few truly understand. Brad Pitt, an icon of today's cinema, has now stepped forward with a rare and unexpected revelation about the man who was once the king of the Rat Pack. In this intimate moment, Brad Pitt doesn't just speak about Dean Martin in passing. He offers a window into a side of the legend that has remained hidden from the public for decades. What unfolds is a powerful, honest reflection, one that sheds light on the complexities of Martin's life and legacy. It's a story that transcends time, connecting two generations of stars whose influence, though separated by years, share an undeniable bond. What Brad Pitt has to say about Dean Martin goes beyond just admiration. It's a glimpse into a world few have ever been invited to witness, a rare chance to understand the man behind the fame and the icon behind the persona. This isn't just a story of Hollywood history, it's the unveiling of a truth that has long been shrouded in mystery, and it's a story that will change the way you see both men forever. Brad Pitt's rise to stardom. Ever wondered how a small-town boy from Missouri became one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood? Brad Pitt was born on December 18, 1963, in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and raised in Springfield, Missouri. Growing up in a close-knit family, Brad was a typical Midwestern kid, loved sports, did well in school, and was known for his charisma. But Brad had something more. A restless spirit and a burning desire to explore life beyond the boundaries of Springfield. That fire led him to the University of Missouri, where he studied journalism, focusing on advertising. However, in a twist that could rival any Hollywood plot, Brad realized something profound as graduation loomed. He wasn't ready for the 9-to-5 grind. With only 2 weeks left before he was supposed to don a cap and gown, Brad packed up his beat-up car and set off for Los Angeles, chasing a dream that had barely begun to take shape. Hollywood isn't kind to dreamers, but every now and then, someone breaks through. Brad Pitt's big break wasn't handed to him, it was earned. When Brad arrived in LA, he had no connections, no experience, and very little money. To make ends meet, he took on odd jobs, including dressing up as a giant chicken for a restaurant chain and driving strippers around. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept him afloat as he worked tirelessly to break into the industry. Brad started with small roles on TV, appearing in shows like Dallas and Growing Pains. These were minor gigs, but they gave him a taste of the industry and an opportunity to hone his craft. Then, in 1991, something extraordinary happened. Brad landed a small but unforgettable role in Thelma and Louise. Playing JD, a charming drifter who seduces Gina Davis's character, Brad didn't just steal a scene, he stole the whole movie. With his sun-kissed hair, smoldering looks, and undeniable charisma, Brad Pitt became an overnight sensation. It was the moment Hollywood, and the world, noticed him. Once Hollywood had its eyes on Brad Pitt, there was no turning back. But it wasn't just his looks that made him a star. It was his fearless choice of roles. After Thelma and Louise, Brad could have settled for a career of playing the heartthrob. Instead, he took risks, choosing complex and challenging roles that showcased his range as an actor. Take Fight Club, 1999, for example. In this cult classic, Brad played Tyler Durden, a magnetic and anarchic character who becomes the face of a rebellious underground movement. The role was raw, gritty, and dark, completely shattering the pretty boy image Hollywood had pinned on him. Fight Club wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural phenomenon, and Brad Pitt's performance was at the heart of it. Then came Ocean's 11, 2001, a slick heist film that paired Brad with an ensemble cast of heavyweights like George Clooney and Matt Damon. Playing Rusty Ryan, Brad brought charm, humor, and a laid-back coolness that audiences couldn't resist. The movie's success turned it into a trilogy, cementing Brad's status as a Hollywood A-lister who could headline blockbusters while making it look effortless. And let's not forget Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019, where Brad took on the role of Cliff Booth, a stuntman navigating the fading glory of 1960s Hollywood. The film, directed by Quentin Tarantino, was a love letter to a bygone era of Tinseltown, and Brad's performance was nothing short of spectacular. He brought depth and humanity to Cliff, earning him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Brad Pitt's impact on Hollywood. What makes Brad Pitt more than just a movie star? His ability to evolve and shape the industry from behind the scenes. Brad Pitt isn't just an actor, he's a powerhouse producer with an eye for compelling stories. Through his production company, Plan B Entertainment, Brad has brought critically acclaimed films to life, including 12 Years a Slave, The Big Short, and Moonlight. These movies didn't just win awards, they sparked conversations about race, economics, and human resilience. By taking on roles that push boundaries and producing films that challenge the status quo, Brad Pitt has become a force of creativity and innovation in Hollywood. His impact isn't just about the box office numbers or the awards, it's about the stories that matter, the risks that pay off, and the legacy he's building for the next generation of filmmakers. Brad Pitt's career has always been forward-looking, but in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he took a poignant step back in time. Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is set in 1969, a transformative period in Los Angeles when the glitz of old Hollywood was giving way to a new, grittier era. For Brad, the role of Cliff Booth wasn't just another character. It was a chance to pay tribute to the legends who paved the way for actors like him. Cliff Booth is a relic of a bygone era, a stuntman who thrives in the shadow of the Hollywood machine. Through Cliff, Brad embodied the quiet dignity of performers who worked behind the scenes, often overlooked but integral to the magic of cinema. His performance felt like a nod to stars like Dean Martin, whose effortless charm and adaptability defined an age of Hollywood glamour. The film itself was steeped in nostalgia, with its vibrant recreations of 1960s LA, from neon-lit theaters to retro diners. Tarantino's meticulous attention to detail transported audiences back to a time when Hollywood was larger than life, and Brad Pitt's performance was the emotional anchor. In many ways, Brad Pitt has become what Dean Martin once was, a timeless icon who transcends generations. Just as Dean Martin represented the suave, carefree elegance of mid-20th century Hollywood, Brad Pitt embodies the spirit of modern-day stardom. Both men have the rare ability to command the screen, not just with their looks, but with their undeniable presence. Dean Martin was a man of many talents: singer, actor, comedian, and TV host. Similarly, Brad has proven himself to be a multifaceted artist, seamlessly shifting between acting and producing. While their paths never crossed, the parallels between their careers are striking, reminding us that true stars leave a mark that transcends time. Dean Martin's timeless legacy. When you think of the word legend, few names fit the bill better than Dean Martin. He wasn't just a singer or an actor. He was an icon who defined coolness in an era that birthed countless Hollywood legends. But who exactly was Dean Martin? And why does his name still evoke such admiration? Dean Martin wasn't born a legend, he became one. Dean Martin came into this world as Dino Paul Crocetti on June 7, 1917, in Steubenville, Ohio. Born to Italian immigrant parents, Dean's early life was far removed from the bright lights of Hollywood. His father was a barber, and young Dino grew up speaking Italian at home. This made school life tough. He didn't learn English until later, and was often teased because of his heavy accent. But even as a kid, he had something special, a natural charisma and a knack for making people laugh. Before he stepped into the spotlight, Dean tried his hand at various jobs. He was a blackjack dealer, a steelworker, and even a boxer who fought under the name Kid Crochet. While boxing didn't make him a champ, it toughened him up and gave him the kind of confidence that would serve him well later in life. Still, something was missing, and Dean knew it. A chance meeting would change his life, and Hollywood, forever. In the late 1930s, Dino started singing in local bars and nightclubs. His smooth voice, full of warmth and charm, caught the attention of bandleader Ernie McKay, who hired him as a singer. Over time, he developed his signature style, effortless, laid back, and full of personality. Soon, he adopted the stage name Dean Martin, shedding his humble roots to embrace a larger-than-life persona. But it wasn't until the late 1940s that his life took a dramatic turn. In 1946, Dean was introduced to Jerry Lewis, a young comedian who was making a name for himself with his slapstick humor. At first glance, they couldn't have been more different. Dean was the suave, smooth-talking crooner, while Jerry was the wild, hyperactive clown. But when they performed together, something magical happened. Sometimes opposites don't just attract, they set the world on fire. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis became an overnight sensation. Their chemistry was electric, their timing impeccable. Together, they created a comedy duo that ruled Hollywood for a decade. Between 1949 and 1956, the pair starred in 16 films, from At War with the Army to Hollywood or Bust, bringing millions of fans to theaters. Their live performances were just as legendary. Audiences couldn't get enough of their banter and camaraderie. But behind the scenes, tensions were brewing. As their fame grew, so did their differences. Jerry's over-the-top energy began to overshadow Dean's more understated style. By 1956, their partnership came to an end. It was a bitter split, but one that ultimately allowed Dean to shine on his own terms. Many thought Dean Martin's career was over. They were wrong. After the breakup, critics doubted whether Dean could succeed as a solo artist. But Dean, always calm and collected, didn't just survive, he thrived. He reinvented himself, carving out a successful career that showcased his versatility. In music, he became one of the most beloved crooners of his time. With hits like That's Amore, Everybody Loves Somebody, and Volare, Dean's rich baritone voice made him a household name. While his Rat Pack buddy Frank Sinatra was known for his emotional intensity, Dean's singing had a lighter, more carefree quality that made listeners feel like they were sharing a drink with an old friend. In film, Dean proved he was more than just a comedic sidekick. He took on dramatic roles, earning acclaim for performances in movies like The Young Lions, 1958, alongside Marlon Brando and Rio Bravo, 1959 with John Wayne. He brought his trademark charm to every role, whether he was playing a cowboy, a playboy, or a struggling musician. Dean Martin didn't just star in a TV show, he created an institution. In 1965, The Dean Martin Show premiered on NBC, and it was an instant hit. Unlike many variety shows of the era, Dean's show felt spontaneous and relaxed, thanks to his unique hosting style. He would stroll onto the stage, drink in hand, and deliver his jokes with a wink and a smile. The show featured musical performances, comedy sketches, and guest appearances from Hollywood's biggest stars, cementing Dean's status as a cultural icon. One of the most famous elements of the show was the roast, where Dean and his guests playfully teased each other. These roasts became so popular that they later spun off into their own series, the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts. The format was simple but timeless, and it showcased Dean's sharp wit and easy rapport with his peers. Dean Martin wasn't just talented, he was timeless. Throughout his career, Dean Martin embodied a kind of effortless cool that few stars have managed to replicate. He wasn't just a performer, he was a persona. Always impeccably dressed, always in control, Dean made everything look easy. And yet, there was a vulnerability beneath the surface, a quiet strength that made him relatable. Modern stars like Brad Pitt often draw comparisons to legends like Dean Martin. While Brad's style is distinctly his own, there's a similar air of confidence and charm. Both men have a way of commanding attention without demanding it. They make you feel like they're inviting you into their world, rather than performing for you. What makes a legend? It's not just talent, it's how they make you feel. Dean Martin passed away in 1995, but his legacy lives on. His music still fills the air during romantic dinners. His films are still watched by fans of classic cinema, and his influence can still be seen in the stars of today, who strive to capture even a fraction of his charisma. Dean Martin wasn't just a star of his time, he was a star for all time. His story reminds us that legends aren't born, they're made, one song, one joke, and one unforgettable moment at a time. Brad Pitt's connection to old Hollywood has always been a place where legends are born, and every new generation of stars seems to pay homage to the icons that came before them. Brad Pitt, one of the most recognizable actors of our time, is no stranger to this reverence for Hollywood's golden age. From his choice of roles to his production company's storytelling ethos, Brad Pitt's career reflects a deep admiration for the glamour, grit, and artistry of old Hollywood. Let's dive into how Brad Pitt has connected with and drawn inspiration from that era. And, along the way, perhaps uncover some surprising ties to legends like Dean Martin. Brad Pitt doesn't just act in Hollywood, he carries its history. Brad Pitt has often expressed admiration for the stars and storytellers of classic cinema. In interviews, Pitt has shared that his love for movies began in childhood when he spent hours watching old films. These movies introduced him to the larger-than-life personas of Hollywood's golden age, where actors like Humphrey Bogart, Cary Grant, and, yes, Dean Martin ruled the screen. This admiration for timeless icons has stayed with him and continues to influence his artistic choices today. Brad Pitt might just be the bridge between the past and the present of Hollywood's legacy. One of the clearest examples of Pitt's connection to old Hollywood is his role in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. The film itself is a love letter to the late 1960s, a transitional period that still carried echoes of the classic golden age. Pitt played Cliff Booth, a stuntman whose quiet charisma, rugged demeanor, and loyalty to his friend, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, felt like a tribute to the era's understated, effortlessly cool heroes. In interviews promoting the film, Pitt talked about his fascination with that period of Hollywood. He mentioned how the industry was shifting back then, with television rising and traditional stars like Dean Martin navigating new terrains of fame. While he didn't name Martin specifically, his acknowledgement of this pivotal time in Hollywood's history resonates with fans who see him as a modern embodiment of that effortless charm and star power. When you watch Brad Pitt on screen, it's hard to miss the subtle influences of old Hollywood in his acting style. His performances often carry a sense of effortlessness, a quality that made icons like Dean Martin unforgettable. Martin, for example, could dominate the screen with a single look, a sly smile, or a perfectly timed line. Similarly, Pitt's understated performances, especially in films like Ocean's 11, 2001, and Moneyball, 2011, reflect a mastery of restraint that speaks volumes. Take his performance in Ocean's 11. Pitt's character, Rusty Ryan, is the epitome of cool, much like Dean Martin's role in the original Ocean's 11, 1960. While Pitt didn't directly mimic Martin, it's hard to ignore the parallels between their easy confidence and suave delivery. It's as if Pitt carries the torch of that old-school charm, reinterpreted for a modern audience. Another aspect of Pitt's acting that connects him to old Hollywood is his focus on authenticity. Stars like Dean Martin were not just performers, they were personalities. Pitt, too, has often said that he chooses roles that allow him to bring a part of himself to the character, much like Martin's relaxed yet compelling screen presence. The Dean Martin connection. Now let's talk about Dean Martin, one of the quintessential icons of Hollywood's golden age. Known as the King of Cool, Martin was a man who could do it all: sing, act, and make people laugh. His unique blend of charisma and versatility set him apart from his peers and solidified his status as a Hollywood legend. While Brad Pitt and Dean Martin never crossed paths, Martin passed away in 1995, a few years before Pitt's breakout in Fight Club. It's easy to see how Martin's influence has shaped actors like Pitt. Martin's legacy isn't just about his talent, it's about his ability to command attention without trying too hard. This same quality defines Pitt's presence in Hollywood. Is Brad Pitt the Dean Martin of our time? The comparisons aren't as far-fetched as you think. Dean Martin's style and charisma have left an indelible mark on Hollywood, and many modern actors, consciously or unconsciously, have drawn from that well. Pitt's career choices, his laid-back public persona, and his ability to seamlessly transition between genres mirror the versatility and magnetism that defined Martin. Think about it. Dean Martin could go from a dramatic role in a Western to hosting a comedy hour, and Brad Pitt can jump from the intensity of Seven to the humor of Burn After Reading. Both actors understood, and in Pitt's case, continue to understand, the importance of balancing depth with entertainment. Plan B entertainment. Brad Pitt's admiration for old Hollywood doesn't stop with his acting. His production company, Plan B Entertainment, has become a beacon for high-quality storytelling, much of which is rooted in the traditions of classic cinema. Plan B has produced critically acclaimed films like 12 Years a Slave, The Big Short, and Moonlight. While these films tackle contemporary issues, Their storytelling approach often mirrors the character-driven narratives of old Hollywood. Back in Dean Martin's era, movies weren't just spectacles. They were about human connection, raw emotion, and unforgettable characters. If Plan B were around in the golden age of Hollywood, you can bet it would have been at the forefront of storytelling. What sets Plan B apart is its focus on timeless themes. Films like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which Pitt both starred in and produced, feel like they could have been made in any era. The story's exploration of love, loss, and time echoes the universal, deeply human themes that defined Golden Age classics. Through Plan B, Pitt has also championed films that highlight underrepresented voices, showing a commitment to evolving Hollywood while still respecting its roots. This balance between honoring the past and embracing the future is something that would undoubtedly resonate with legends like Dean Martin. Hollywood's golden age may be over, but stars like Brad Pitt keep its spirit alive. Brad Pitt's work, both as an actor and a producer, reveals a deep respect for the artistry and innovation of old Hollywood. Whether it's through his effortless performances, his choice of roles, or his dedication to meaningful storytelling, Pitt continues to bridge the gap between Hollywood's storied past and its evolving present. So, while Brad Pitt may not have spoken directly about Dean Martin, the connections between them, be it through charisma, versatility, or a shared love for cinema, are undeniable. And as long as stars like Pitt continue to draw inspiration from legends like Martin, the legacy of old Hollywood will never truly fade. What did you think about Brad Pitt's take on the legendary entertainer? Did it change your view of Dean Martin? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this insight into Hollywood's hidden stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.